Listen carefully because what I'm about to say might make you uncomfortable. Some of what's hurting your life isn't attacking you, it's hiding inside you. And between now and Christmas, there is a simple spiritual act, ancient, symbolic, intentional, that brings hidden things to the surface so they can finally lose their power. Stay with me. Here's the truth no one tells you. Nothing hidden survives heat. Pressure doesn't create problems, it reveals them. That's why, spiritually speaking, boiling matters. When you place ordinary things into intentional fire, what's been buried rises. Not to destroy you, but to show you what's been quietly shaping your choices, your relationships, your confidence. The two herbs aren't magic, they're symbols. One represents obedience, the willingness to do something simple without fully understanding it. The other represents awareness, the courage to notice what comes up instead of pushing it back down. When you slow your life down enough to do something deliberate, something sacred, something repetitive, you create space. And in that space, patterns emerge. Old fears, lingering resentment, habits you thought were harmless, thoughts you assumed were just who you are. That's the moment most people quit. But that moment, that's where transformation begins. Spiritual cleansing and physical healing are often confused because they use similar language, but they operate on completely different levels. Physical healing deals with the body, symptoms, diagnoses, treatments, and recovery processes that belong to medicine and biology. Spiritual cleansing, on the other hand, addresses the inner landscape of a person, the beliefs, emotions, unresolved experiences, and patterns that influence how someone thinks, reacts, and lives. When this distinction is not clear, people may expect spiritual practices to function like medical solutions, which leads to misunderstanding and disappointment. Spiritual work is not about curing illness, it is about revealing truth. When we speak of hidden disease in a spiritual sense, we are not talking about physical sickness hiding in the body. We are talking about unseen influences such as suppressed fear, unprocessed grief, bitterness, guilt, pride, or self-abandonment. These are not visible on scans or tests, but they quietly affect decisions, relationships, confidence, and peace of mind. Spiritual cleansing is the process of bringing these inner conditions into awareness so they can be acknowledged rather than denied. Awareness does not remove pain instantly, but it removes blindness, which is often the real source of suffering. The language of cleansing is symbolic. It reflects an inner reset, not a physical detox. Just as cleaning a room does not change the structure of the house but changes how you experience it, spiritual cleansing does not alter the body but transforms how a person relates to their inner world. Many people function for years while emotionally cluttered, spiritually exhausted, or internally conflicted, believing this state is normal simply because it is familiar. Spiritual practices slow life down enough to notice what has been normalized but is no longer healthy for the soul. This is why intention matters more than action. A ritual, reflection, or symbolic act only has power because it creates space for honesty. The mind becomes quieter, defenses soften, and what has been buried begins to surface. This surfacing is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that awareness is increasing. Spiritual cleansing does not promise comfort first. It promises clarity first, and clarity often arrives with discomfort. That discomfort is informational, not punitive. It points toward what needs attention rather than avoidance. The symbolism of boiling in spiritual practice carries profound meaning that goes far beyond its literal physical sense. In everyday life, boiling represents heat, pressure, and transformation. When a substance is subjected to heat, its inner components are forced to move, react, and sometimes separate. In the spiritual context, this process is symbolic of what happens within a person when they intentionally place themselves under conditions that demand reflection, honesty, and self-awareness. The heat is not physical, it is the pressure of conscious examination, the challenges of introspection, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. Just as raw ingredients change when boiled, hidden aspects of the psyche, fears, unresolved emotions, ingrained habits, and blind spots begin to surface and reveal themselves when a person applies the symbolic heat of focused attention. Boiling also represents inevitability. In physical terms, when water reaches a certain temperature, it will turn into vapor. It cannot remain stagnant. Spiritually, this mirrors the principle that unresolved issues, if not acknowledged, will continue to influence behavior subconsciously. By intentionally engaging in practices that symbolize boiling, ritual reflection, meditation, journaling, or spiritual rituals, an individual accelerates the process of revealing what has been buried. The pressure does not destroy the self, it clarifies the self. What has been hidden under layers of denial, distraction, or avoidance begins to rise to the surface where it can be recognized and understood. The metaphor highlights that pressure is not punitive but revelatory. It is designed to bring clarity, not harm. Furthermore, boiling symbolizes purification. In many spiritual traditions, heat is associated with refinement. Impurities in metal or other substances are removed through fire or intense pressure, leaving the element stronger, more valuable, and more resilient. Similarly, the symbolic act of boiling in a spiritual sense is about purifying one's inner life. The emotions, thoughts, and patterns that have lingered unnoticed are not destroyed. They are transformed into awareness. This process often feels uncomfortable because it exposes vulnerabilities, but the discomfort is essential. It signals that growth and transformation are occurring. The boiling is intentional, deliberate, and controlled, unlike chaos, which overwhelms. In this way, symbolic boiling becomes a tool of empowerment, enabling a person to face their inner reality with courage and move toward clarity and spiritual maturity. The concept of the two herbs in spiritual practice carries deep symbolic significance that extends far beyond their literal physical form. In this context, the herbs represent qualities, principles, or attitudes that must be consciously cultivated to facilitate inner revelation and transformation. The first herb symbolizes obedience, which is the willingness to follow a deliberate practice, ritual, or disciplined action, even without fully understanding the outcome. This obedience is not blind compliance, but a conscious commitment to participate in a process designed to reveal what is hidden within. Often, people resist spiritual practices because they want immediate clarity or tangible results. The first herb challenges that impatience, reminding the practitioner that growth requires consistency and trust. By engaging faithfully with this symbolic herb, a person creates a container for insight, allowing unseen patterns of thought, behavior, and emotion to rise to the surface for acknowledgement. The second herb symbolizes awareness, which is the capacity to notice and recognize what comes up during the spiritual process. Awareness is active, intentional, and reflective. While the first herb encourages participation, the second herb emphasizes observation and understanding. It asks a person to hold space for whatever emerges, whether it is uncomfortable, surprising, or previously ignored. This combination of obedience and awareness forms the foundation of effective spiritual practice, One without the other is incomplete. Without obedience, a person may never initiate the process, leaving hidden patterns untouched. Without awareness, the process may occur, but the lessons remain unnoticed, and transformation cannot take place. Together, the two herbs create a symbolic interaction between action and consciousness. They suggest that transformation is not a passive experience but a participatory one. The process of boiling these herbs symbolizes the interplay of deliberate effort and mindful observation, emphasizing that inner clarity requires both engagement and reflection. The herbs also carry a reminder that spiritual work is subtle and often invisible at first. Just as herbs release their essence only when subjected to heat or water, the qualities they represent, obedience and awareness, become active and effective only when applied in practice. They are catalysts, not magic, designed to bring hidden aspects of the self to light. Finally, the symbolic herbs encourage a mindset shift. They teach that insight, clarity, and spiritual transformation are not sudden gifts, but the product of intentional practice and conscious attention. By embracing both obedience and awareness, a person positions themselves to recognize and release the hidden influences that shape their life, creating a path toward greater understanding, clarity, and spiritual alignment. The idea of hidden disease in a spiritual context refers to the unresolved patterns, thoughts, and emotions that quietly shape a person's life without their conscious awareness. Unlike physical illness, these hidden diseases are not visible or measurable, yet they can exert a powerful influence over decisions, relationships, and personal fulfillment. They manifest as recurring negative behaviors, emotional reactivity, self-sabotage, fear, resentment, or inner conflict. Often, people live for years unaware of these internal patterns because they are familiar or have been normalized. Just as a hidden infection in the body can silently affect health, these spiritual diseases quietly steer choices and shape experiences, keeping a person trapped in cycles they may not understand. Hidden diseases arise from unresolved experiences, neglected emotions, or unexamined beliefs. Childhood conditioning, past traumas, cultural expectations, and accumulated disappointments all contribute to patterns that operate beneath conscious awareness. They are reinforced over time, often subtly, through habits, thought loops, and avoidance strategies. For example, someone may consistently choose relationships that repeat old patterns of rejection, not realizing that unresolved pain from past experiences is influencing their choices. These hidden diseases are persistent because they are largely unconscious. The mind often rationalizes or ignores them, while the emotions associated with them continue to exert influence. The purpose of spiritual cleansing practices, such as symbolic rituals or intentional reflection, is to bring these hidden diseases into the light. When suppressed emotions, unresolved conflicts, or harmful thought patterns are surfaced, they lose their unconscious control over behavior. Awareness allows a person to examine these patterns without judgment, to understand their origin, and to take deliberate steps toward transformation. This process often feels uncomfortable because it challenges familiar ways of thinking and being, but discomfort signals that insight is emerging. The spiritual metaphor of boiling herbs emphasizes this principle. Heat brings hidden elements to the surface so they can be seen and addressed. Addressing hidden diseases requires patience, courage, and honesty. It is a process of observation, acknowledgement, and release. The goal is not instant eradication, but recognition and realignment. By identifying the hidden patterns that drive actions and emotions, A person gains freedom from their subtle but pervasive influence. Over time, this leads to greater self-awareness, emotional resilience, and spiritual clarity. The recognition of hidden disease is transformative because it reveals the unseen forces shaping life, offering the opportunity to consciously choose differently, to break cycles, and to move toward wholeness in mind, heart, and spirit. If this is resonating, if you feel this stirring something in you, pause for 1 second and engage. Like, comment, share this with someone who's been sensing that something beneath the surface needs attention. Because awareness spreads courage. The timing of spiritual practices from now until Christmas carries profound significance because it coincides with a season traditionally associated with reflection, renewal, and the closing of cycles. This period is more than a calendar marker. It represents a window of heightened spiritual receptivity and psychological awareness. During this time, people naturally slow down, whether due to holidays, the end-of-year pause, or the cultural emphasis on gratitude and introspection. The external environment mirrors the internal opportunity. The world itself is quieter, inviting people to look inward and take stock of their emotional, mental, and spiritual state. This makes it an ideal season for spiritual cleansing, for confronting hidden patterns, and for allowing previously buried aspects of self to surface. The period serves as a symbolic threshold between the old and the new, where one can leave behind what no longer serves and prepare for transformation in the year ahead. From a psychological perspective, this timing leverages natural human tendencies. As the year closes, there is a heightened awareness of achievements, failures, regrets, and missed opportunities. People instinctively evaluate their lives, set intentions, and contemplate resolutions. Engaging in spiritual practices during this period aligns with that natural introspection, amplifying the potential for insight. The contrast between the busyness of earlier months and the reflective nature of this season creates a unique opportunity to slow down enough to notice what has been ignored. Hidden patterns, emotions, and unresolved conflicts that were masked by routine or distraction are more likely to emerge under these conditions. The symbolism of the season, therefore, enhances the potency of spiritual practices, making revelation and clarity more accessible. Culturally and spiritually, the season represents light in darkness, hope, and renewal. It is a period when traditions emphasize awakening, giving, and transformation. Engaging in spiritual practices during this time taps into these collective energies, reinforcing the individual's personal work. The alignment between external symbolism and internal focus creates a reinforcing cycle as one reflects, engages with symbolic acts, and consciously observes inner patterns. External reminders of renewal strengthen the process. The act of choosing this season intentionally adds weight to the practice, signaling commitment and alignment with the natural rhythm of reflection and transformation. Ultimately, this period functions as a spiritual accelerator. The combination of reflective energy, cultural significance, and natural slowdown in life allows hidden issues, unresolved emotions, and subtle patterns to surface. Engaging with these practices during this specific window maximizes the opportunity for awareness and release, creating a strong foundation for clarity, growth, and intentional living moving into the new year. Stillness is one of the most powerful tools for spiritual revelation because it creates the conditions in which hidden aspects of the self can surface. In the busyness of daily life, the mind is constantly occupied with tasks, distractions, and external stimuli, leaving little room to notice subtle patterns, unresolved emotions, or recurring thought loops. These hidden influences operate quietly, shaping decisions, reactions, and relationships without conscious awareness. When a person intentionally slows down and cultivates stillness, they remove the noise that masks these patterns, creating a space where clarity can emerge. Stillness is not simply the absence of activity, it is an active presence, a deliberate choice to observe, reflect, and pay attention to what has previously been overlooked or suppressed. The practice of stillness functions as a mirror for the inner self. In moments of quiet reflection, emotions that have been buried, fears that have been avoided, and habitual thought patterns begin to rise to the surface. This is because the mind, when not distracted by constant activity, naturally turns inward. It starts to process, analyze, and bring awareness to what has been operating unconsciously. The discomfort that often arises during stillness is a signal, not a problem. It indicates that hidden elements are becoming visible. These moments are essential for spiritual growth because they provide insight into the mechanisms that drive behavior and emotional responses, allowing a person to engage with life more consciously. Stillness also cultivates discernment and presence. When a person slows down, they are better able to distinguish between fleeting impulses, conditioned reactions, and genuine intuition. This clarity allows them to identify what is truly meaningful versus what is habitual or externally imposed. Spiritual practices such as meditation, intentional reflection, or ritualized observation rely on stillness to be effective because they require attentiveness and receptivity. Without stillness, the surface-level busyness of life continues to dominate, keeping hidden issues submerged and unresolved. Moreover, stillness fosters integration. Once hidden patterns or unresolved emotions surface, there must be a conscious acknowledgement and understanding of them. The calm, reflective environment created by stillness allows a person to engage with these insights without being overwhelmed or reactive. It provides the mental and emotional space to process, release, and realign with intentions and values. In this way, stillness is not passive. It is an active, transformative practice that reveals the unseen, nurtures awareness, and enables spiritual growth and self-mastery. Discomfort in the spiritual journey is often misunderstood because it feels unpleasant, but it serves as a critical messenger pointing to areas that need attention. Unlike random pain or suffering, the discomfort that arises during spiritual practices is intentional in its timing and message. It signals that hidden aspects of the self, emotions, thoughts, or patterns that have been suppressed or ignored, are beginning to surface. These hidden influences are not meant to punish. They are catalysts for awareness and transformation. When discomfort appears, it highlights the gap between who a person is operating as and who they are capable of becoming. It is a form of feedback from the inner self, urging reflection, honesty, and engagement. This discomfort often takes subtle forms: restlessness, unease, irritation, or emotional tension that seems disproportionate to external circumstances. Such reactions indicate unresolved issues being brought to light. For example, repeated emotional triggers may reveal old wounds, while persistent dissatisfaction may point to misaligned choices or values. These experiences are uncomfortable precisely because they challenge long-held assumptions or habitual ways of coping. By resisting them, a person remains stuck in unconscious patterns. By facing them, they gain clarity and the opportunity for transformation. Spiritual traditions often describe this discomfort as the refining fire of growth. Just as metal is strengthened and purified under intense heat, the inner self becomes more resilient and conscious through the process of confronting what has been hidden. The presence of discomfort ensures that the lessons of spiritual practice are not superficial. It prevents stagnation by demanding attention and action. Instead of avoiding it, embracing discomfort with awareness allows a person to understand its source, learn from it, and gradually release its control. Ultimately, discomfort is a sign of progress. It points to the areas where transformation is needed and where freedom awaits. It is not an obstacle to spiritual work, but a guide, illuminating the hidden elements that, once acknowledged, lead to greater clarity, emotional resilience, and spiritual growth. Recognizing discomfort as a messenger rather than a threat shifts the experience from fear to opportunity, making the inner journey both meaningful and transformative. Participation is the key that unlocks true transformation in any spiritual practice because change cannot occur passively. Hearing about spiritual principles or observing rituals from a distance has limited effect. Real impact comes when a person actively engages with the process. This active engagement requires intention, commitment, and consistency. When someone participates fully through reflection, meditation, ritual, or deliberate symbolic actions, they create a space for hidden aspects of the self to surface. Without this conscious involvement, awareness remains shallow, and unresolved patterns continue to influence behavior unnoticed. Participation transforms knowledge into lived experience, turning abstract concepts into tangible insight. Engagement in spiritual practice is not just about completing actions, it is about presence and attentiveness. The mind must be involved, observing reactions, emotions, and thoughts as they arise. When a person participates in this way, the hidden layers of the psyche that have been operating unconsciously are brought into awareness. This might include recurring fears, suppressed desires, unacknowledged grief, or habitual thought patterns that shape decisions and interactions. Participation amplifies the effect of symbolic acts, such as the boiling of herbs in a ritual sense, because it combines intentional action with mindfulness, creating a feedback loop where hidden truths reveal themselves more clearly. Moreover, participation fosters ownership of the process. Transformation is not something that happens to a person. It is something a person co-creates through engagement. By showing up consistently and intentionally, one demonstrates readiness to confront what has been hidden and to integrate the insights gained. This involvement also strengthens self-discipline, focus, and courage, qualities necessary for deeper spiritual work. Active participation bridges the gap between potential and actual transformation. It turns insight into understanding, and understanding into growth. Without participation, spiritual practices remain theoretical, and hidden patterns continue undisturbed. By stepping fully into the process, a person allows awareness to rise, lessons to be internalized, and change to take root in both consciousness and behavior, creating a path toward lasting clarity and spiritual alignment. In conclusion, the journey from now until Christmas offers a unique opportunity to uncover and release what has been hidden within us. By embracing symbolic practices, cultivating stillness, and intentionally engaging with the process, we create the conditions for awareness to rise. The two herbs represent obedience and awareness, reminders that transformation requires both consistent action and mindful observation. Discomfort that surfaces is not a threat, but a guide, revealing unresolved patterns, fears, and emotions that quietly shape our lives. Participation is essential. Insight alone cannot change us, but deliberate engagement allows hidden truths to emerge, be acknowledged, and ultimately lose their power over us. This season is not just about endings, it is about renewal, clarity, and the conscious choice to step into a life aligned with our highest self. By facing what has been concealed, we clear the path for peace, purpose, and spiritual growth, moving forward into the new year with intention, courage, and inner freedom.